Mitch looking at practice?
Good. He did everything today. He was active, very active.
Is everybody else practicing?
Yes.
Do you need to see something specifically with Mitch before you get him out?
It's more like how he feels the next day. So he's doing everything, taking contact, and then he has to get clearance from medical.
You talk a lot of any chance on him for this week or tomorrow?
I'm not sure because it's usually how does he feel the next day after practice, and he feels great. So everything's been positive so far. So just go step by step. When he's ready, he's ready.
He's had like 3-4 practices, something full contact practice. I think. I may not be counting. I mean, have you seen a progression even in the practice?
Yeah, well, it's more like everything that he's doing, like from individual. He does his individual work, and then he does early group work with the Stay Ready guys, and then he practices. So he's doing quite a bit, but there's nothing that you can quite do that can simulate the intensity of an NBA game. So that's another step. So everyone has to feel comfortable with that.
And what's the mindset? You tell you guys whatever happened this weekend, we're going forward, we have a short memory. What's the mindset? How do you handle that?
You just keep learning, and again, and it's 1 or 2 plays. It's a 4-point game with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and then we gave up a 3 on a side out of bounds play, and so it's just 1 or 2 plays that can swing a game. So we got to understand that and just learn, get better, focus on daily improvement. And we know that's what's worked for us.
Tom, I'm curious to get kind of the way you analyze this stuff. So, like, I know you can never look at lineup data with no other context and just take it at face value. You have to look at other parts of it. How much of a sample size do you need to see? How much of a sample size do you need to see on a lineup before you at least start to think like, okay, this is worth looking more into?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question because there's a lot of variables that are moving parts to it. As you know, like in this league, there's a number of guys that are out each game. So, like, when did it occur? Who was on the floor? So, like how much? I don't know. Like if it's a couple games, that's probably not enough. If it's 10 games, if it's 20 games. If it's a season, I think it does tell you something. So, and then sometimes does it match up with the eye test? Or is it telling you something different? So I think that to answer the question is there's a lot of variables to it.
Tom, how do you view where you are as a team? You're the 3rd best team in the East, tied for the 5th best team in the entire NBA. And you've lacked some success against the top teams thus far this year. So which way do you look at it, or how do you break that down?
Well, I think you have to be, you look at every game as a test that reveals something to you. And so are where we need to be? No. And even if we won, we'd still feel that way because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But if you looked at what everybody's done against the best teams, they have records like that because they've been, successful. Do we have to do better? Yes. And oftentimes, in the course of a season, there's a lot of things that also go into it. What was the travel like? Do they have a rest advantage? Right? Are you at a disadvantage? Who do you have that's out? What are the variables that are going into this game? And so sometimes I think you can jump to conclusions. But we also have to be honest. So this has to be better. To beat those teams, your margin of error is not great. You have to eliminate the mental errors. You got to eliminate the things that can separate a game. And when you look at that game, we always say the defense, the rebounding, and keeping our turnovers down. I think they had 2 more points, in the paint. So there's basically a wash. The fast break points, I think they were +3. Obviously we have to protect the basket better, but the rebounding probably was the difference. So we got to get our bodies on people.
So
what are the parts
the fans, just to follow up that, I'm sorry. So if the fans are saying doom and gloom a little with your efforts against the big teams right now. What's your message to them?
Well, there's no message to them other than the important thing is what we think, and what we have to do to improve. And so your record is what it says it is. And so each game counts the same. And so at the end, you want to be playing your best basketball. That's the bottom line. So that's the way we approach it. We don't get lost in outside stuff. We have to focus on the things we need to focus on.
And I'm talking about those things that you need to get better at in the last game, rebounding, and how much does Mitch factor into that when he comes back? Like, what kind of lift does he give you?
Well, and I think you have to look at it and say, okay, Mitch was projected to be the starting center on the team. So we've gone 50-something games without our starting center. And I think guys have done a really good job stepping in. Could we do better? I always believe we could do better. So, Mitch is an elite pick and roll defender, he's an elite rim protector, he's an elite offensive rebounder. Those are things that, are critical.
Is there anything you can learn from like the precious cap minutes or the 40 cap minutes that you can apply to potential Mitch cap minutes, or is it just they're different players?
They're different, but I think the things that Mitch brings, one are his size and his knowledge of the league. I think those are important variables to look at. And we need pressure on the rim. We need guys that can defend the pick and roll. Those extra possessions that we get from them, offensive rebounding, are huge for the offense. So all those things are important. Like, he's a hard guy to measure statistically, but the value he brings to the team is great.
What do you feel like? So I know you say a lot, like if you want to make a change, you need to check like, are guys going hard, and then you have to check is the scheme being executed correctly, and then you're like, okay, you have to do something to the scheme. In pick and roll, when you have a team that can spread you out, where are you in that process right now?
Yeah, and again, you could do it well, like in a game, and maybe the next game is different. So it's each day there's things that you have to work on. So it's the big thing is your defensive transition is huge, and your pick and roll defense, that's basically what most of the league is. And so if there's 60 pick and rolls in a game, maybe you defended 45 well, maybe 5 that were okay, and maybe there's 10 that are that were breakdowns. That a great player can make a great play, and you could defend it well. He might still make the shot. So, or you could also conversely have a breakdown, and the guy has an open shot and he misses it, and therefore that shouldn't be considered good pick and roll defense or transition defense. So I think understanding those things, understanding the physicality of the league right now, and we have to play really hard. We're a small team, and we will be until Mitch can come back.
That 45-10-5 thing you just said, is that an actual ratio you
Yeah.
strive for?
Well, no, some could be more. Like, and then you have to distinguish between, okay, was that a ghost screen? Was that a false action? Did they miss the first one on purpose to get to the second one? What's transpiring here? Like a lot of times there's false action that is not really a pick and roll, and so they want you it's to create confusion, and so that's where your communication is so important, trusting your teammates is so important, and being aggressive is so important, because there's gray area in every game.
Kind of with that,
That's all, guys.
you talk about the things you can't control, or you can control as non-negotiables for you. The communication defensively, how have you seen that progress throughout the year? Is that something that is still a work in progress with this group?
Yeah, well, I think it's a challenge all the time, and it's constant, and that's why, like particularly dead ball situations, whether it's a free throw, side out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, it's a dead ball, right? That everyone's got to be communicating with each other, so there's no confusion. It's a chance, like there's nothing going on. So oftentimes, in the course of a game, there's going to be action going on, so someone might miss something, but if there's constant communication by everybody, that helps everyone get queued up to what everyone should be doing. It's the same thing offensively. It's if you don't want to just lock into the ball, you got to lock into, the rim and all the players that are on the floor, because that's going to tell you what the next action is and what you should do. You got to read the man in front, you got to read the ball, and you got to read what's happening on the weak side.